Hello you two, lovely to see you again. So, we've had a full week off where we've been, after the half term now, we've had the full week back where we were reviewing everything that we've done previously. Now we're going to look at starting our new terms topic. Now our new terms topic is China, more specifically ancient China. So we're going to spend this week looking at monuments, so the things that have been built during the ancient Chinese time, and then next week and the week after we're going to look at some other topics. We're going to try and do it so that the format for the videos will be that I will give you quite a lot of information, but I'll also give you an activity to do, just like before. However, instead of it being like a PowerPoint where you have to sit and you have to watch and you've got to get given all the information, I'm going to give you an opportunity to go and research the information yourself, finding out some other things that I might not have told you in these videos. So you'll still get an activity to do yourself, but you can go and explore this open-ended video to see what else you can find out about the topic. So let's start straight away. So, the Great Wall of China. Now, as you imagine, it is a huge wall. Now, it's a great wall that covers 5,500 miles long. That was when it was originally built. If you take into account that every single dynasty, which we'll talk about that again, every single dynasty has built it, it goes all the way up to 13,171 miles long. So it is ginormous. Now, why did they build this wall? Now, the reason that they built this wall is we're talking about during a time where each country is still fighting to have as much land as they want. So similar to in the last topic we were learning about the Crimea and how the Russian Empire wanted the Crimea for their own. Well, this is very similar. At the northern border of China, we've got Mongolia. And Mongolia, or the Mongol Empire, was wanting to take more of China's huge area that they have. So the emperor decided that they were going to build a ginormous wall to protect their land. So they decided that it wasn't going to be a small wall, it was needed to be a huge wall to protect that land, and he wanted it to just be one long wall covering that whole border. He ordered his men, or he ordered the servants and the slaves and the peasants to build this wall, and it needed to have thousands of lookout towers so that the archers could stand on the top of the towers and they could see if there was any Mongol invaders. The original Great Wall was built in the Qin Dynasty, and then following dynasties carried them on. So dynasty was an emperor and a family name that was in control of China at the time. So the Qin Dynasty was the family name Qin, and their family was seen as royal. It was like our royal queen that we have, Queen Elizabeth II. It was a bit like that, but it was called a dynasty. And what we would do is you would have it pass on throughout families, and then if you ever wanted to challenge that dynasty, another family would try and challenge it in, but that wouldn't happen too often. So that dynasty was the original one that wanted to build the Great Wall of China. Much of the wall that we see today was actually built by the Ming Dynasty. And again, all these things that I'm saying, you can go and you can research a little bit more of to find out yourself. So the wall was mainly built by peasants, slaves and criminals. And there was other people that the emperor decided to punish. It wasn't a pleasant job to be working on this wall. It was lots of heavy stones that needed to be all bricked together with lots of mortar, which is the type that it's like cement, to hold it all together. And it wasn't a good job at all. So if you were sent to work on the Great Wall, you knew you were in for a bit of bad luck actually. But to make sure the wall was being built correctly. There was soldiers that were also involved in making sure that they managed the workers. So the soldiers would stand there with their swords. It's not guns at this time. They've got their swords and they're stood over to make sure that the slaves and the peasants and the criminals are all working as hard as they can to make sure that this wall is built, because the faster this wall is built, the more protection they have against the Mongol Empire. Now the Mongol Empire, similar to how the Russian Empire is, it's a different to how it is today. It's not an empire now, it's more of a country. So you've got Mongolia and you've got Russia. They're not empires, they're countries now. So the Mongol Empire at a time was the second biggest empire the world had ever seen. The British Empire was the biggest empire that had ever been, and the Mongolian Empire was shortly after it. So it was a force that was to be reckoned with. It was a really dangerous army that they had. So the wall was built with really whatever materials that they could find. The earlier walls were usually built with like compacted dirt and any other kind of break off bits of rubble that they could get together. But then in the later dynasties, when they have been rebuilding it or they've been making the structure stronger, they would use bricks. Was it just a wall? Well, it had lots of different purposes. The main purpose was to stop people from getting in, but it had lots of other things, like it had the towers so that people could see if people were trying to invade. The Mongols were trying to invade from the northern border. It also had blockhouses, and these blockhouses were where soldiers could go and house and they could rest and stay. And then it would also have towers that would be used to send signals to maybe the other parts of the army or parts of the dynasty. Well, no, parts of the army, to make sure that if there's anybody attacking, they can send a signal to say that they need more protection, more support. So let's have a think. The Great Wall of China is over 13,000 miles long now, but it was previously, the original was about 5,000 miles long. There's over 7,000 lookout towers to make sure that there's nobody trying to attack the Great Wall. Today, the walls have eroded, and the word eroded, so eroded. The word eroded means that it's been worn away. So if, let's say, you've got like a rock, and if you hit the rock and it a bit chips off, that's been eroded away. Some of it's been taken away. So they say that as the walls continue to erode, historians are trying to protect it. So the people that want the history of China to be remembered, they're trying to stop it from happening. So they want to put more money into it getting a bit rebuilt in areas that are collapsing, and so on. One of the main facts about the Great Wall was it was huge, not only in length, but in height. The reason they had such a high wall was they wanted to make sure that people couldn't just easily climb it. You needed a huge ladder to get on it. Now, picture this. The tallest part of the Great Wall goes up to 9 meters tall. Now, this is where I want you to explore how tall that actually is. Now, although you don't have a meter ruler potentially at home, I found another way of which you can explore at home. So, a piece of paper here. A piece of paper is 297 millimeters, so it's about 29.7 centimeters long from this side to this side. So 29.7 is nearly 30, so we could say this is 30 centimeters. Now we know in a meter ruler there is 100 centimeters. So it's about 3 and a little bit extra, but we can just round it to 3. 3 pieces of paper, side by side, going from end to end, is around about a meter long. So all the way from that side of the piece of paper straight all the way to that side. Now, I didn't say it was 1 meter long, did I? I said it was 9 meters long. So if we've got 3 lots of pieces of paper that make around about 1 meter, we're going to need 9 lots of that. So it's going to be 9 times 3. So if you've got 27 pieces of A4 paper at home, you can lay these out one after another, and you can see just how long or how tall the tallest part of the Great Wall of China is. I'm going to show you what it might look like if I lie next to that, and then you can show me, maybe on tapestry at home, what it looks like in your home. Again, this is the activity that I'm setting for you to explore how big that 9 meters looks, and just for you to imagine how fantastic that wall is. I personally have been on the Great Wall of China. I went with my school when I was a little bit younger. I can see if I can put some pictures on the screen now to show you. I know Mrs. Van Huffel's also been to some locations in China, and in the next lesson we'll be talking about where she's been. So that's very exciting to know that some of the teachers at TLAP have also been to these fantastic places. If I show you now what these 9 meters worth of paper looks like in comparison to my height, then you get a good idea of how tall that wall is, and maybe you can explore that at home. I also want to set the task of, can you explore anything else that you are interested in for ancient China? Think about what maybe some traditions were. We're going to be looking at that in 2 weeks' time. Maybe you could look at some other monuments. We're going to be spending our whole week this week on monuments, so you can get ahead a little bit of yourself. And then next week we're going to be looking at some of the things that the emperors believed, and maybe something to do with an army, but we'll have to find out next week. Let me show you what this activity might look like for me, and then I look forward to seeing all the activities that you do at home for tapestry. Thank you very much, you two. See you later. So after measuring it out, it's huge. So what I've decided to do is, on one of my daily walks where I go outside, I've found myself an area in a field where I've laid out all of my piece of paper, all 27 of them, and I'll get a photo now of me lying down next to them to show you how tall that the Great Wall's highest peak was.